WSOU 89.5, the loudest rock. I am Patrick here with Mike from Become the Night. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing good, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you for doing this. So in addition to our artist interviews, recently we wanted to start interviewing internet celebrities such as Mike, because we think that they have just as much, if not more, influence in heavy metal culture today. So Mike,
you're too nice.
No problem. So I'm going to start by asking you, Mike, what were you doing? What did life look like before you started uploading videos on YouTube and that became full time?
So I guess I'll start it as far back as putting out my first solo record, which I have already done an entire video roasting myself, and I deserved it. It was not a very good record. But I was working on that, about to release it, and my producer / mentor asked me what I was going to do with this and what my plans were for the future as in the music industry. And I told him I was planning on going to LA. He's like, go to Nashville. Not something I would have first thought, since I despise country music, but turns out he was right. This really is kind of the heart of music here, and there's fantastic talent all gathered here. But yeah, before I started uploading videos, I moved here all by myself, just some cash, waiting tables, and was in like 1 or 2 bands that was really going nowhere after a year. And I was just like, I'm grabbing this by the horns myself. I bet I can do this better. And that's why I started doing the social media thing, YouTube channel. I mean, weirdly enough, inspired by guys like Game Theory or Game Grumps. I was watching a lot of gaming content, and I was just like, I can do this. You know, like everyone says, oh yeah, this is so easy. I can do this. It's not easy. It's very difficult. But yeah, that's kind of what life was looking like. Pretty bleak.
So, so you just said that after you were in a few bands, you started to do your own solo thing and then transition into YouTube. So some of your first videos were a series of short clips that you called Recording Time that were uploaded back in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You watched those, huh?
Yes. Hey, I do my homework, man. So you called these a behind the scenes look into recording your music. You just kind of hinted at it a little bit, but what inspired you or prompted you to start videoing yourself and recording guitar and uploading it to YouTube?
Because I literally at that time had no idea what to make content of. And the thought process was, okay, I have 2 choices. I can either make this album to the best of my ability by myself and then try and shop it out to people then and see if that works, or I can take the smarter route, which was build the audience first and then release the music afterwards. And originally I wanted to actually build the content around making the music, but I very quickly found out, hey, no one gives a crap about this person they don't know making music they don't care about. You should probably tease them in with something that's more relevant to them. So that's where, commentary or doing covers was kind of the next development of the YouTube channel after that. But yeah, so like some of what you would hear on there is actually very early stuff of what would become Rising Visionary.
Got it. Yeah. So you realized that videos of you recording yourself weren't really, for lack of a better word, they weren't really doing it. So
would I give a about someone else doing the same thing? That's not me.
Right.
No. So.
Right. So in 2016, a little over a year later, you transitioned to doing reaction videos. Like you reacted to Fine Brothers, like kids react to Metallica, but you also reacted to, Taylor Swift is the new Eddie Van Halen and pop concerts and stuff. So do you think that it was a sort of learning process from going to recording videos to your Mike the Music Snob videos where you started talking a little bit more, started doing more commentary to build your audience like that?
So originally, Mike the Music Snob videos were all supposed to be commentary, and I wanted to go back and forth between that and quote unquote like the random jams or whatever. And um, one of the big issues was the fact that I was like not natural on camera whatsoever. I was like hilariously cringeworthy, really bad. And it wasn't until I put my nose to the grindstone, like, okay, if I'm really going to take this seriously, I need to upload once a week, no matter what it is. And I didn't have a proper idea for that week. So I just did a reaction video and it took off for whatever reason. So I just was like, well, this is working. So I'll just keep doing this. And it also allowed me in that impromptu circumstance to just be myself and be more natural on camera as opposed to trying to be scripted out, if that makes any sense. Like that just came across so much better on camera.
Right. So you said that you were able to be more natural with these sort of videos. So, out of the reaction videos, you sort of transitioned to now what your channel, I think, is primarily known for, which is the commentary, whether it's, Song Suggestion Friday or really long videos like Why Am I Bored of Dream Theater, just you talking. So now that you do YouTube full time, how do you decide what to make videos about? Because you said you really had no idea in the beginning.
Whew, that all depends. When I first quit my day job, it was really just like, what's trendy, what's happening, what are big things that my audience like will respond to and will click on, And frankly, in the last year or so, I've been trying to get a little bit further away from that, just because, frankly, I'm sick of the rat race. It's not very fulfilling. Sometimes I wind up rushing myself and pushing myself into statements that could have been either better phrased or maybe thought out a little bit more, or just talking about things that at the end of the day is just like surface level gossip.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I want something a little bit more substantive. What was the original question though?
Um,
Pardon me.
Yeah, so you transitioned to mostly commentary videos. So now that that's your main gig, your main bread and butter, how do you decide what to make videos about? How do you decide your content?
What inspires me, honestly? That's probably the biggest thing. Like right now, I was just like, well, time to make a new video. So, what band do I not like very much? Pink Floyd. Okay, I'm gonna listen to their entire discography and just research them. So I'm actually in the middle of making a massive video on Pink Floyd in general. You know, just
Mhm.
find something that inspires you, that you really feel like you have something to add to, which can be a lot harder than trend chasing. And just be honest. Be honest
So
in the work that you put into it, and be honest about what your actual thoughts are.
right, so we do see a lot of that in the internet space, what you call the trend following, the trend searching. Do you think that adds more authenticity to your channel when you do stuff that you're passionate about and what inspires you?
Yeah, it does. It also means that there's a high likelihood that I'm gonna be considered quote unquote irrelevant. But I I'm happy doing it because it's something that I feel more genuine about, especially like as you grow older and you realize certain parts of yourself that you're really trying to satisfy certain insecurities as opposed to just being completely honest and about what you can provide to people as opposed to what people are going to provide to you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, content wise, you just said doing something that inspires you, that excites you. Other than that, what do you think makes a great YouTube video? Now, not what gets the most views, but a video that you'll be fulfilled with.
Me personally,
Yeah.
oh man, something that helps me understand myself better or
Mhm.
helps me understand the world better. That's, I guess, me personally. I'm definitely not the average YouTube consumer, as we can see by the channels that do get a load of views.
Mhm.
You know, every once in a while, I can get down with like for lack of a better term, lowest common denominator content. It can be fun, but I don't really consider it fulfilling so much as kind of like a mild escape, if that makes any sense. So a great YouTube video to me will make me feel like my brain leveled up just slightly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, you're obviously not just an internet personality. You're also part of a band called Crusade. Now, your Instagram bio says that you guys are taking the pretentiousness out of prog and replacing it with raw, powerful artistry. Why don't you tell me what that means? Give us a glimpse of what you guys are all about.
Uh, I would say one of the big issues of prog, which is a genre that if anyone who's familiar with my content is aware, is probably my favorite genre out there, is its huge tendency towards self-indulgence. It's massively self-indulgent when compared to a lot of other popular genres. And part of that is either trying to make these grand statements or these grand movements in music when it just feels like they're kind of working the numbers, whether that be like rhythm or harmony or melody. They're just kind of working the numbers as opposed to effectively communicating emotionally. And part of that also has to do with making prog that the average person can listen to and be like, that's good. They don't necessarily have to love it. That'd be awesome, but they can at least appreciate it and be like, there is something seriously great here, even if I don't know what it is. I mean,
Yeah,
ideally, we'd want them to relate to it, but
right. Yeah, that's awesome. So, what was it like making your guys' first full studio album that you released earlier in 21 during a pandemic?
oh gosh, terrible. um, we did the recording for that album mostly out of our homes. So was running my Line 6 Helix for every one of those tones and working three, four different guitars, depending upon, actually, no, five different guitars, depending upon which track it was or what tone I was going for. Um, but yeah, it was a slog because on one hand, you're completely self-motivated. I'm the producer of this thing, so I have to motivate everyone to do things. But also I'm the artist and the composer, so I'm very emotionally invested. I have spent years ripping apart other musicians' music, and I'm about to release, quote unquote, the snobs idea of what great music is. So it's really easy to just run away, for lack of a better term. It's
Right.
very easy to. But we freaking hammered our way through it. Freaking, whether it be me sitting here in my living room tracking these things, or our bassist Steve chilling on the floor doing drum tracks. So I'm sitting here being a freaking metronome to him, making sure he's playing exactly on. Or even the drums, which is a whole nightmare in and of itself that I'd prefer not to talk about right now.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
yeah, it was a very guerrilla style of making an album, which came out pretty great at the end of the day, honestly.
So when you had the finished product in your hands or on your computer, however you had it, the final copy, how fulfilling was that to have a final copy, have something that you can put your name on after going through all that hard work, especially during the circumstance?
Uh, Pretty fulfilling, I have to say, especially since that was going to be quote unquote the solo project for a while,
Right.
and I decided I wanted to build a full band around it. Um, and it was equal parts fulfilling, equal parts absolutely frightening because it'd been so long since I did like a real release that wasn't just like, I don't care what anyone thinks of this. Like, no, I very much cared what people thought of this. Very much cared. Which isn't necessarily the healthiest way of approaching things. I would say the biggest disappointment was the fact that it didn't do quite as well as I was hoping it would. And there's a number of different reasons for that, I'm sure. But you know, done in for round two. Can't stop there.
Right. I definitely resonate with that. So, you said earlier that you moved out to Nashville to try to work as a musician, try to start a band, and now obviously you have all that. So because you guys are based in Nashville, what's special to you about the Nashville metal scene in particular? Because I know you said you definitely didn't expect it.
The Nashville metal scene, I would say, is intimate. The people know
Mhm.
each other very well. I wouldn't say I'm super deep into it. Probably spend too much time trying to figure out my social media presence. But I would say just how intimate and how cool it is, and everyone helps each other out. I mean, like any other scene or group of people, but I mean, for the most part, there's a lot of cross promotion. There's a lot of love, and especially the prog metal scene here. It's not huge, but we got some great bands here in town, man. I'm super proud to play alongside these boys.
Do you think that that sense of community brings out the best in the performers and the best shows in metal in Nashville?
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, not the best, but do you think that that sense of community contributes to the performances and the musicianship?
It could. I'm not 100% sure, honestly. I know that's not the answer you want, but at least
No,
it's
no,
me
it's
being honest. But um, I would say probably one of the things that brings out the most out of the performance is one, a healthy level of narcissism that every musician has,
mhm.
and two, seeing how a crowd feeds into that. That's those are definitely the things that feed a performance most times. But the community is cool too.
So, yeah, definitely. So, you, Mike, as a working musician and a YouTube content creator, what does it mean to you now that online creators like yourself are becoming sort of the driving force in heavy metal culture today?
It means that I was right several years ago when I started this channel. That's a that's kind of nice. It's like, okay, at
Yeah.
least I had that much vision, but that I get to be a part of it is kind of humbling and makes you kind of reevaluate a whole bunch of things about yourself in a good way. Um, but it's interesting seeing different people's approach as well. Um, you got guys like Stevie T, who it's just like all nonsense comedy. You got guys like Jared Dines, who kind of just like scene kid bros to a degree. You got guys like Music is Win, who are much more like Berkeley elite technicians. um, and then you have guys like me who are just kind of like, I don't know, way too young to be a grumpy uncle, yet here I am being a grumpy uncle about everything. It's like Rick Beato, yet somehow far less positive.
Right. So, you say that it's cool to see everyone else's approaches. How would you describe the sense of community in the online metal scene? Because when you see you were in one of Jared Dines' Shred collab videos, and when you see these creators come together, how would you describe, like I said, that sense of community online?
I don't know. I really don't know. Um, I was actually the friend I was talking to about this beforehand. That's like somewhat of what came up. It's really interesting. I was actually talking to another YouTube friend about this earlier too. One of the reasons why I don't think I'm actually going to be going back to NAM for a while until someone like is like, "Hey, we want you to promote this. We'll pay for you to come out." Like, yeah, sure, I'll come out. I'll have a party.
Mhm.
It's pretty expensive to go to NAM, and I feel like my money could be better allocated. And I feel like being a lot more honest with myself and just being a lot more comfortable in my skin than I used to be. I get concerned about how much of it is like how much of it is us actually really being bros,
Mhm.
and I know for sure there's people that I can be super honest and very chill with in the YouTube music scene, not even necessarily the metal community. But a lot of times when you're first getting introduced to these people, I don't like I wouldn't say I'm even really fully on the inside. I would consider myself more on the outside of that. There's just always this thing in the back of your head of like some type of competition or comparing, and I don't like that. I'm not one to go to a party and like pretend to be liked by everyone or pretend to like everyone. I'm very much who I am, and I don't give a if you are like who you are and if you like that or not. I don't give
Yeah.
a single um and I don't know, like to a certain degree, things like NAM or like a lot of these like online YouTube meetups becomes a whole lot of what I hate about Hollywood elite stuff.
Hmm.
It's not exactly that, but like it starts to borderline on that. And I feel like there was a part of me that like really wanted to like be on the inside and quote unquote be accepted. Yeah, I just don't know. Like I wouldn't say I'm on the inside enough to really be able to evaluate it because I'm already looking at it somewhat from the outside with my own insecurities. So I don't 100% know. I will say any of the interactions I've had with any of these guys have all been good, but there's always just like that thing in the back of your mind that you never really feel like you're talking to the real guy. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
There's a handful of creators that I know that I am talking to the real people. I 100% know that, and most of them aren't metal guys. Like,
Right.
but yeah, so it's hard for me to say honestly. I don't know.
Right. So I guess the community, or yeah, the community aspect notwithstanding, what's it like for you to see all of these people, metal and other genres of music, do what you do and create and make a living for themselves in music, whether it be the same approach as you or something different?
There's a part of me that is like fully on board with it, especially years ago. I was like, this is the revolution. This is how we take down the music industry. And now it's like we just ran straight into a trap and we are slaves yet again.
Right,
we
right.
we ran right into it. Now, granted, we have a lot more control now than we used to as independent creators, but we also don't have quite the same resources. So it becomes a bit of a catch 22. It's like, yeah, you have the freedom to create whatever you want whenever you want, but you're a slave to the algorithm and
Hmm.
you don't have the funding of a music label to front you money and give you a whole network and team of people to make this happen amazingly.
Hmm.
So a younger me would be much more like, absolutely, we're going to do whatever the heck we want to do. But now an older, more cynical me, especially seeing how social media censorship has become insane, is like, yikes. We we just legitimized the next technocrats and overlords. I don't know. I don't know what to do next.
Right.
So I'm on the fence about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Mike, thank you so much for doing this. If you are not, the viewer, if you are not subscribed to Become the Knight, go ahead and do that right now. Just search Become the Knight, that is KNIGHT, on YouTube, and hit subscribe. Mike, anything else you want to
Yeah, what's your social media, Patrick? Give
add?
yourself a freaking boost, dude.
uh, all right. I play guitar. My Instagram and TikTok are music by Ritter, Ratter. That's my last name.
That's all one word, by Ritter.
Yeah, no underscore dots, anything like that.
Word.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Dude, thank you very much.
WSOU 89.5. Good night.